All right, well, let's get started. And again, I think there'll be more people that join in. We had over 50 people RSVP. So the topic was flexibility today. And one of the things that as I was sitting down and preparing for this and getting some ideas on paper, I went to the internet and looked up the definition of flexibility. So I thought it'd be interesting just to start there and kind of use that as the beginning of our conversation. So looking at the definition of flexibility, there were three kind of different ideations of it. One being the quality of bending easily without breaking. 2, the quality of being easily adapted or of offering many different options. And 3, the ability and willingness to adjust one's thinking or behavior. So as I read through those and looked at those, it was very intriguing because all of those apply to our business in some way, shape, or form and into what we're moving towards, right? And so one of the other kind of topics that things I wanted to mention at the beginning is, and I think it's Gary Vee that kind of mentions this or talks about this, how you have to make a frictionless experience for buyers, right? We have to make this complex world we're living in simple for our buyers in any way, shape, or form that we can. And I want to describe a quick little experience that I go through on a weekly basis with my children that I think kind of is going to pertain to like what kind of experience our buyers are going through. So my 3 children do gymnastics and Ninja Warrior classes at a gymnasium. So before we even enter that gym on a day-to-day basis, we have to fill out a COVID survey. So I have to do that for every child. I can actually do them all on one. We have to have our temperatures taken. We have to have our masks on. We have to sanitize our hands. We have to go through this entire steps of procedures. And I think it's really important to think about, those are all things that are probably applicable to our venues. I mean, I know we're selling right now for an NBA team a ticket and a COVID test. So they literally have a 6-step process of how you have to go take your COVID test before you come to the game 72 hours in advance and upload it to an app. And so how are we communicating and making things seamless for us? And if we're talking about groups, how are we sharing that to our group leaders so they can get it out to the group buyers? And so maybe we can start there with the conversation of flexibility and talking about how are we simplifying the system or the process for those of us that are welcoming fans back into our venues and our buildings right now? How are we making this complex world simple? If anybody has any great examples of what you guys have been doing or how you've been handling that or how you plan to handle that, love you to chime in and share.
Well, as someone that tests every single day, a simple test, an easy test, a painless test is really an important thing. Everybody that works with the student athletes gets rapid tested every single day. And so I have to carve out the time that it takes. And 18 minutes after I take my test, I'm cleared to enter the stadium. But it's an antigen test, which isn't as accurate as the PCR test that a lot of people insist on, but it's also considerably less expensive, and we haven't had any breakouts worth talking about. We had 0 among our football team, 0 among both of our basketball teams. And so we were pretty successful, but it's also because we've been testing our entire population since August 5th. And, with as large of an organization as Northwestern University is, we still have fewer than 1,000 positives. So testing is an important safety measure, and you get what you measure. But that's the antigen test. I don't know if that answers your question.
Are you guys planning to, as you welcome more and more, I know you said you just had a few fans at a soccer game. How is that relaying to the fans that are coming into the building?
The people that are coming in are parents or people on the pass list. Those are literally the only people that are coming in. There's more demand for pass list than there's capacity for every single one of our venues except for our football stadium. So, like for senior day for basketball, we didn't have enough capacity per the restrictions to get everybody that wanted to be in the building, was wanted in the building. So that's just because Illinois is really being Illinois. Where right now we're allowed to have 20% capacity, but Our soccer stadium only has seating for less than 1,000. Our baseball stadium has seating for less than 1,000. Our softball stadium only has seating for 500. And so if you just extrapolate there, there's really not a lot of room for people to be coming in. So right now, testing isn't part of who's being allowed in there because they're just being physically distanced. But the good news is now we have seating manifests for everything from tennis all the way up to football. And so we can literally assign a seat. We never really had to do that. Everything except for basketball and men's basketball and football was general admission.
Anyone else currently communicating information to buyers for coming into their buildings in our complex world and giving them options on what to do and how to do things?
Yeah, this is Brandon with the Detroit Pistons. We're doing some things like we're allowed 750 people into the arena. That includes like the players, the coaches, the staff, media, and a couple other essential employees. And then at the end of it, we'll probably get like 200 tickets that we could sell. The first month that we had that, I think in January, we started just giving it out to like season ticket holders. We started giving tickets out to clients and prospects just to kind of get a feel for how it would work to navigate through the Little Caesars Arena, like where people park, what entrance they should go into, how do we keep them separated. And that worked out perfectly because what we did, I know some people on the phone here don't know what Little Caesars Arena is set up, but there's a parking garage that's connected to the arena, and we just have them park there, and then they just kind of walk over a tunnel to the arena, and then they had to go through, before they can come in, they had to take a wellness survey that we emailed to them. They kind of let them know that they weren't exposed to anybody with COVID. They didn't have any symptoms, things like that. And then they just kind of said, they showed that to the person before they walked in. And once they walked in, they went through security and got their ticket scanned off their phone, which was, they don't have those like hand scanners anymore. They actually have like a portable scanner. So it just takes their phone and it scans it that way. So no one's touching their phones or be involved with that. But now recently we started putting tickets on sale with the same capacity. We're doing phases where season ticket holders can purchase tickets, the first phase, and then the second phase, like 10 game planners, group leaders, group people who have deposits down for the season, which may not happen this year with groups. And then I think coming up here, hopefully we do have some games that do have some games available or tickets available for April that are probably going to offer like super groups. So what we'll do is we'll send out offers to companies and different organizations to do that. So what we do is in order to kind of really get it down is we have like a wellness survey that we send out to people. It's an automated survey that gets sent out to them, but we send it manually too. It lets them know what entrance they need to go into, what areas and concession stands are open, and then what areas they can stay into the arena and they can walk around. Because Little Caesars Arena is a giant arena, so we only have seats open facing the benches, the players' benches, just that one side that's open. So that's what we're doing right now, and I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon, if capacity's going to go up to 1,000 or not, but that's kind of how we're generating money right now, is just kind of selling to like season ticket holders and just getting some people out to games and offer them prices for, and it's just lower bowl seats, like the mezzanine level, the upper level, and the seats behind the Pistons bench have been blocked off or tarped off. And then we are selling some floor seats as well, where we have like maybe I would say 6 or 8 floor seats that we sell. And what we do with that is people can buy those, and then what they do is they go to our Pistons practice facility, which is like 4 blocks from Little Caesars Arena. We have a special event where they can get some food, and it's like sectioned off by different types of plastic dividers for each person. And what they do is get a COVID test first, to make sure they're okay, and then once they're okay, they can drive over to Little Caesars Arena, go ahead and sit in the courtside seats, and then we have a special space in our Motor City Casino Club where they can have like pizza and hot dogs that are handed to them individually. It's not like a buffet or anything. So yeah.
So you're still doing testing as a part of more of the floor seats.
Yeah, because they have like the certain, like the NBA has certain zones, like red zones and different zones like that. So if you're sitting closer to the players, you have to be tested. And then we do those quick tests, like I think it's like 15 minutes or 20-minute tests that you do. And we do things like that too as well. And then I don't know if my colleague Kim's on the phone, but we also did an event, a group event. I know Paul, who's on this phone call too. We've been doing group events too virtually, and been selling tickets to Pistons games, hopefully for this season, but maybe for next season. And we did a palm competition, which is our 30th year doing it. Didn't think we were going to be able to do it this year, but we did it on a dark day, and we sold over 700 tickets to it because we had a certain amount of people we can allow in, and a certain amount of teams that come out and perform, and that worked out perfectly too. We had everybody spaced out, teams spaced out. We had it where each person did the wellness survey. We had a plan where people are coming in, make sure once they got in, they had to keep moving towards their sections. They couldn't like crowd up and wait for their kids or wait for different family members. We had people around and make sure they kind of ushered them to their sections, and that worked out perfectly too, because that was over, I think, $17,000 we made off of that, for not being able to offer group tickets. We were able to sell something like that too as well. And I think Paul just got done. Paul Schramm did a wellness, mental health awareness event where we offered tickets to a Pistons game in the future, maybe this season, next season, and then also tickets to Motor City Cruise, which is our G League team that's coming up in next season. So we offered that as well too. And I think he sold like 30 tickets for that as well, and had 90 guests that came in, and it was a good event. So we're looking at different types of events. I'm working on a virtual event for a company. They're going to buy 250 group tickets, and then they're going to have Rick Mahorn come in and talk about different things like leadership, adversity, things they're looking to do, and that's going to be in May. And so that's kind of how we're doing things, is trying to look at virtual events and how we can sell group tickets and kind of get revenue for next year. And hopefully down the road we can do some in-person things like paint and sip, or we're looking at cornhole, different things like that. But right now those are on hold, just based on the comfortability of Little Caesars Arena, and if they're comfortable with those different areas, like doing it outside, or if we can do it inside the VIA. So
yeah, awesome. Thank you for all that, Brandon. So when you guys are doing virtual events, because I think this is another kind of concept of flexibility, are you offering the option for it to just be the virtual event, and then offering the option that you can do the virtual event and still buy a ticket for a future event? And then the other question on that is that as you look forward, has the conversation come up to be able to, once we do have more full arenas, still provide that virtual component as an option for people to be a part of something or a part of the event?
Yeah. So what we're doing is we for the virtual events, we provide them a couple options. One of the options, like they can get on free and do the event. The second option they can pay. I think it's like $15. They get a ticket to a Pistons game down the road, a Motor City Cruise ticket, and then also I think the event that Paul did, they get like a free item, like a Pistons item that kind of co-brands with mental awareness night. And that's what we did some other events too, as well as we offer them some swag and different things to add on to the event. So there are events that we do that are free, just for the actual webinars, and virtual events, and then there's ones we do paid, where people can buy and they get like a t-shirt, or they get a special item plus a Pistons ticket. For down the road in the future, like I did a Chinese Heritage Night, and most of that was virtual. So we did a meet and greet with one of our players. We're hoping to have Derrick Rose, because he's like a very popular player in China, because he sells some tennis shoes in China. He goes to China and promotes his merchandise and stuff like that. But unfortunately, he got traded before we could do that, and so we got another player in to do that. But we did a virtual event with a meet and greet, and my contact loved it, and what they want to do is have a component where we do our virtual event once things get back to normal, and add that as another component to the Chinese Heritage Night, and add it, make it like a weekend long event, it's not just a one game event. So
Great point.
Yep.
Anyone else providing those options? Is, you know, you can do just virtual with a ticket for later. Do you foresee that as something that's offered long term with your group sales strategy or ticket sales strategy in general? Anyone else? No? I know we have a number of teams that are doing some virtual events and they're offering and bundling in. I know one team, I believe it was the Colts, for their virtual sports business forum that they're doing. They're basically saying you're paying for the virtual event and you get a complimentary ticket. So they really wanted to put value in the virtual event as opposed to value in the ticket at this point. And they have it set up through our system where when you buy, the transaction is basically complete at that time. So the buyer buys their virtual event, they're going to get the Zoom link on the day of the event, but they also received in that transaction the link to eventually redeem their game. And even though the games aren't live and they don't know their schedule yet, but then also their unique code that gives them access to that. So they've been able to kind of pre-sell right now. I believe they're only going to be offering their preseason games, but again, they don't know what those are. They don't know what those look like yet. So they're able to kind of sell in advance without having that information and that ready to go. And I know they were going to continue to do more and more of these types of programs throughout the off season. So I guess diving more into like groups, like what kinds of flexibility have you guys been looking at or have you seen with regards to groups, you know, changing group minimum numbers or refunds and exchanges, traditional groups not necessarily being traditional anymore, maybe moving to super groups, hospitality spaces, or, you know, other things like that. Like what kinds of flexibility or what kinds of changes have you been making to those types of, or to your group process?
Denise, it's Nicole with the Revs. I think one thing that we're being open-minded about is the use of links. So typically, you know, we require a pre-purchase or, you know, a larger commitment. So this year we talked about being a little bit more understanding when it comes to just offering groups a link and seeing how many tickets they can get. With sort of an expectation that things will be a little bit more normal next year and we'd go back to what we were doing previously. It could still be a link, but you know, being a little bit more understanding on not necessarily taking a deposit if they just want to send out a link this fall, or most likely for us it'll be this fall for group nights, but that's something we're being a little bit more flexible on.
Absolutely. And that's you bring up a great point, Nicole, with regards to deposits. Like, are we officially requiring a deposit to be able to do things, or if fan experiences come back, you know, are you going to have required a deposit for that? Or are you going to be able to just, you know, take people based on tenure and, you know, past commitment? Or is a deposit still going to be that magic thing that we need to have?
Yeah, we've discussed that too with, you know, with Spinzo, with the capability to, you know, what's it called? You set up that sort of countdown. If they reach so many tickets, they get an experience. So we've talked a bit about ways we can use that to be a little bit more flexible, and ways if they don't hit that number, what do we do? So we've been having those discussions, but I think that'll be a great tool for us when we're not sure of what we can do at this point. But yeah, it's something we've discussed also.
Yeah, just holding people accountable to specific minimums or requirements. I think, you know, does that take place of a deposit? And I think that's a question that each organization is going to have to answer for themselves. Anyone else on that with regards to deposits? Or
I'll chime in, Denise, on the experience front. We're seeing teams have a willingness now to potentially sell fan experiences because they're not sure if they could be offered now due to the environment. So maybe they'll roll into being able to offer them, but there might be a point in which you'll have unused experiences. And so we've been talking to a lot of teams at Spinzo anyway about selling their fan experiences. And we have a big feature we're announcing next week where you could do so even more flexibly and potentially incentivize group leaders kind of at the last minute to do some kind of big drive in order to achieve these experiences. So that's one thing. On the topic of refunds, I will say, just as a fan, I want the flexibility to be able to refund. And even if it's no questions asked, I mean, if the situation gets bad in a certain jurisdiction, I don't feel comfortable going to a game anymore, I'd love to have a no questions asked refund policy. And I know a lot of you don't necessarily have that, but here at Spinzo, we've made a commitment that when we're refunding a ticket, we're refunding everything. We're refunding our fees, and we've actually decided to take it on the chin, the transaction fees as well. So we're doing everything we can to enable our partners to just offer that, a no questions asked refund. No one will be out money except for us. So that's how much we believe in wanting to give fans that flexibility of refunds. So if any team takes us on it, we'll do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think flexibility in refunds is going to be important. And I also brought up a conversation too, Emmanuel, you're saying in different jurisdictions, like we've noticed we've had a number of teams that have wanted to do this prior to COVID, but it may be a conversation that comes up is not allowing people to buy from a certain further out radius. Like, you know, it used to be common where you would travel to go to a different venue to see a game. You know, is that allowed now? You know, is it allowed for you to travel from New York to California to go see another game? Like, is that, you know, are you going to allow that and allow fans that have been, you know, maybe in different outbreak zones to be in your venue? And that's a great question. I don't know if that's come up for anyone. No.
I think for us, we're in New England, right? So all the we're literally 30 minutes from a state border. So for us, you can't really restrict people from Rhode Island or Connecticut or New Hampshire coming to games. So it's tough, and numbers are different in New Hampshire than they are in Rhode Island. So for us, it's challenge right now. We're not restricting anyone coming from different states. They can if they want to, but and anyone in our lower bowl, if they're not on the field, they don't have to get tested to come to games. So it's, but it's interesting because we're in New England, so everything's so close together.
Yeah, which is totally different than a lot of different places around the country. What kinds of change? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll chime in on the refund discussion. One thing we noticed, and I'm with Holiday World, which is a theme park, but I've been in baseball for most of my life. It's a selling point too, the fact that you can make those changes to a group picnic, a group outing. If something comes up where your people don't feel comfortable coming to the game, and that kind of flexibility will allow people to jump in where maybe they're a little bit hesitant to even start the plans. And that's something that we have seen, and I like to use that to help people feel more comfortable as they're getting the process rolling. You know, we were open last year for an abbreviated season, and we allowed, you know, pretty much any circumstance to roll money over to this year. And we're also going to allow the same this year, although I don't think it'll be quite as big of a deal in our particular area. We're in Indiana. But we will still have that option for our groups if they need to roll that to 2022.
So Brian, were you deferring to rollovers as opposed to refunds, or were you allowing both if necessary?
It depends. I mean, in most cases, we're talking about group deposits. So for us, it's typically a 10% estimate of the entire group. You know, if people fight us on that, there are some different things we could go get into and different options, but we didn't really have any trouble with that because most people wanted to come. They just didn't want to come last year. So in the most part, they were fine with us holding on to this season.
So one of the other questions I think that comes up when you talk flexibility is changes in product mix and different types of products that are offered. Any new products or completely different products that you are bringing to the forefront or offering that you didn't offer before because now it's a necessity? Or you're exploring, maybe you're not settled on it, but you're exploring different products because of what we're in?
I can talk about, this is Bram from the Detroit Pistons again. This isn't like a group related one, but we rolled out a pick 'em plan where somebody can pick 3 games of their choice and get a discounted ticket. Plus, they can get types of add-ons. So they have like a choice of 10 different things they can add on. They can do two of them, which could be like and it's based on our corporate sponsorship deals that we have too as well. So one is like $100 DoorDash, gift card, or you can get 3 parking passes. You can get discounts to our merchandise store, and then there's several more options that I don't know off the top of my head. But then there's another experience you can add. You can choose between another experience, between 3 experiences, and one experience is you can go to one of our open practices at the practice facility to watch the Pistons practice. You can have, or you can do a coffee or breakfast with our new chief business officer. And then the third option was, have your name on the video board. And those are the things we rolled out this season, just to kind of, get some leads for next season, get people interested, and kind of get people, on board to see, who we can talk to next season about getting season tickets, and kind of show them, how we're running things in the arena, and how we're keeping things safe. So
very cool.
Denise, this is Chris from the Ottawa Senators. I'm not sure if there's any Major League Baseball folks on here, but we borrowed a concept from Seattle of more of because we had a 10-game plan, or have a 10-game plan that fits into different tiers. You select 2 from this tier, 3 from this tier, and so on. But with everything going on, the Seattle pass that they had made a lot of sense for us, where you're just buying a credit, and you can buy the credit for whatever games you want. If it's 2 games in the 100 level, the more expensive tickets, or you want to take 6 games up in the 300 level, and let the customer just completely customize a package, which we think for some of our older demographic, they may want to wait. Our season starts in October. They may want to wait even a bit longer to let some other people test the water first. So this package allows them to either backfill or front fill, especially our snowbirds that leave to go down south. They shrug at season tickets because they miss all of January, February, March not being in the city. So this is a package more custom for them. And we happened to be thinking about it right when all this transpired. And this is a nice fit to fit into what people might want to do going forward.
Totally agree. I love that concept, Chris. I saw that from the Seattle Mariners is what he's referring to. And Chris, we probably should talk to offline. We have a feature coming out next week where we could actually handle the entire, we could automate the entire redemption of that for you. So maybe we can talk offline, but that kind of concept of them buying in, I'm spending a certain amount of money, but then I really get the run of the mill, choose whatever I want. I personally believe season tickets are going to go that way, whether it is flex plans that Brandon was talking about. It's really selecting your games and being able to select them when you want, or what Chris is talking about is, hey, I know I want to spend, or I have $1,500 or $5,000 or whatever it is to spend with the team, but I want to be able to choose to spend it in the way that I want. I feel like that's the way our plans are going. And what does that mean for group sales and other types of ticket sales? I think we've got to look at those same types of flexibilities for those other sales. And could you make a sale to a company that's a $10,000 group sales package, but that breaks down into codes that they can redeem however they see fit, when they see fit? There's interesting concepts that way too. Any other new products or things that we're offering? Different types of food and beverage options. I know you mentioned, Brandon, the individually wrapped as opposed to buffets, or maybe even concession stands changing a little bit. But is there anything else from a group sales perspective, from a standpoint of concessions, that we're offering differently? Ray, did you have something to add?
Well, right now we're having the flexibility for people to bring in their own catering. And so we've got the Chick-fil-A guys showing up and the California pizza guys showing up, and they're dropping off their stuff, and that's what they're doing. So each person is and we're walking away from that revenue mainly because everybody there is on the pass list, and we're just practicing having a limited number of people in there. I think a definition of flexibility is strength. And strength is the ability to be resilient in what is going to be difficult. But the other thing is that if you're going into this season, a fall season, with the idea that you're half capacity, and then you wake up on the 2nd of August that you're going into full capacity, there's really no way to get the extra half of the stadium full unless you're prepared to do that. And you know, for me, I've been in contact with all of my group leaders. I mean, I have, you know, thousands and thousands of unique patrons, and I've also reached out to them using our CRM system. And so I've had the opportunity, just so they know that, you know, hey, we're here and we get it. But being able to quickly allocate seats is in a short sales window is something that I predicted over a year ago, and I think it's coming to be. You know, for myself, I'm watching closely what our friends in Major League Soccer and in Major League Baseball are doing, because as they're letting more than 20% into the stadium and closer to 50% into the stadium, then group starts becoming part of the picture. Because of part of the group revenue picture is that we sell group tickets so that our season ticket holders get value. If the secondary market is soft because we are not creating demand, that really hurts the revenue and the value that's perceived by our season ticket holders. And it's not something, you know, I know that if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything tends to look like a nail. But part of our job is making sure that season ticket holders continue to feel like they're getting value.
Agreed. And I think to your point, Ray, saying that, you know, you may wake up and your venue now has more capacity. I think that, and historically, having sat in this position as director of group sales or manager of group sales, many times they come to group sales. Okay, how can you get 1,000 seats out the door by next week or by tomorrow or by 3 days from now? And so we've got to be flexible and ready to handle those types of situations. And we've had this time to prepare. So how we're preparing and how we're kind of queuing up our groups to be flexible, like we need to convey to our groups that if they can be flexible with us, then they can be in the front of the line when we do have that opportunity, especially if they are kind of like, you know, chomping at the bit and ready to get together and ready to do things. So, which we're hearing from some teams that their groups, you know, their diehard groups they're ready to go. And so I think being able to communicate that flexibility to our groups and to our group leaders, and at least I think one of the trends is that your group leader may not be able to corral everyone for you, but they're a mouthpiece. So how are you using them and how are you transitioning their concept and having them be flexible and understanding that, hey, you're still going to be seen as valuable to us from an organizational perspective because of your mouthpiece, not always because you corral everyone and handle everything for us, but to Nicole's point of being more willing to send out more links, our group leaders' value is still there because they are the mouthpiece, and we still need them to be the mouthpiece, maybe in a different way this year. So, any thoughts on that? Anybody kind of been more flexible or thinking about how that looks like from a group leader rewards or group leader value perspective? Like, is that has that changed or that concept changed of, hey, like we're still going to reward them if they're opening the doors for us. They don't necessarily have to be all they were to us before. No? Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're rewarding people who do place deposits for this season, like I mentioned before, is getting that pre-sale code to buy tickets for the games that we do sell, the 200 tickets that we do have. Be able to sell the fans. That's one of the benefits too. Other benefits that we're creating too are different virtual events. There's an opportunity. We have it's called like Microsoft Surface. We have it in the hallway where the players can kind of, when they come in and out of the stadium, we offer our group leaders a chance to do that and watch that. And so that's something too, because the players will come up and wave to because the players can see the people on the Microsoft Surface, and then the people can actually say something like, "Hey, how you doing?" And the player can talk back to them as well too, and that's another benefit that we're doing for group leaders, just to kind of keep them engaged in what we can do for them. And you know, we're going to have like different events like Meet the Team virtually that we might be able to have some spots for group leaders. That usually goes for season ticket holders. So those are things we're trying to get the group leaders more involved in some of the events that we do for season ticket holders to kind of keep them interested and let them know that, yeah, you're not forgotten. We're still going to work with you. And like I have deposits for Quarter Dreams for high school basketball teams, and their season's coming to an end actually really soon. And what I'm probably going to do is start reaching out to them now and just let them know there is a possibility for us to do Quarter Dreams at this time, but we can roll the deposit over, get them early in the priority list. So when our schedule comes out with the NBA, hopefully everything gets back to schedule with the NBA where our season starts in October. So when our schedule comes out in August, we can get back to them and say, hey, here's the schedule. Let us know your top 5 games, and then what they'll do is we'll base it based on priority. So if they place a deposit, last season or this season, is to say they'll get priority or somebody who places it 2 months before our schedule comes out, or so that's another benefit too, is giving them priority over somebody else based on what they did, and just kind of keeping them updated. We'll do different types of events in the summertime if permitted. So we're trying to do things like that too as well. Like if it's open practice, or we're gonna have a G League team pretty soon, maybe give them a tour of the new facility that's being built on Wayne State campus. Include different benefits that we can do for them for G League team opportunities. Like I think most of them are going to include a lot of our G League tickets with our group offers too. So that's one thing we're trying to explore too as well. But just kind of keeping them engaged and let them know how it's going. And I talked to one of my group leaders, and it was a dance studio, and they weren't open for the longest time, and she was thinking about closing her dance studio down and stuff like that. But I kept in touch with her. I didn't bug her about placing a deposit, or I wasn't just like on her case about doing this and doing that. I was more like on her side, like listening to what she had to say, and kind of let her know, like, and just kind of listen to her. And at the end, she finally placed a deposit today for next season. She's going to keep the studio open, and so I got her some tickets to a game this season, and let her know I got tickets for her. So that's also too, is offering free tickets to a game and get them out there, because also we give them a parking pass.
That's awesome.
In Detroit, it's like $40 to park next to the arena, which is insane. So giving them free parking passes is another benefit too as well. But yeah, just keep involved with them, let them know what's going on, checking in with them. So that's one of the things that we do too as well for our group leaders. But our flexibility of doing anything like fan experience wise, like having dance teams dance, or doing high five tunnels, or doing any things that we had in the past, and even doing a group of like 10 or more, is going to be completely different, because you're not going to be seated together. You're not going to be able to perform on the floor. Like for our national anthem, they're pre-recorded. For our dance team to perform during quarter breaks and halftime, they're pre-recorded. So we were looking at options to say, okay, maybe we can go to our dance studios that place deposits and have them dance a pre-recorded thing and then show it at our game. But then it's kind of like, well, how do we get them tickets, and how are they going to see it? And then we also ran into a situation, I don't know if any other teams ran this situation too, is we used to, tape our performances and put them on a YouTube page, and then we would send it to the group leaders as a benefit, where they can, and what it does is like different angles of the performance. So it was like, a view from the top, view from different angles, and we edit it. It was a kind of a really neat addition for them that they could post on their sites and stuff. But then Stoney got back to us and pretty much told us we had to cease and desist, because it was copyright infringements and all that stuff with that. There were trying to work ways around that too as well. So it's gonna be different for us, but we're definitely trying to adapt to it. But this season, I pretty much tell people for groups for this season, not people, but in my mind and reps I work with, I just tell them pretty much it's kind of a wash this year for us in Michigan for group sales, just because of our season ends in mid-May, and I don't think we're going to have the capacity and the different experiences. So what we're doing, and a lot of the reps that work with us right now, is we're just planning for next season. We're just planning on, the worst being 85% capacity next season. That's the worst I could see, or being full capacity, just because, how things can change. But it's more getting yourself ready for next season, getting your book, the business ready. People who you weren't able to get in contact before, try getting in contact with them again, and just come up with new ideas. So.
Absolutely. What questions do you have for the group, or does anyone have any questions about certain flexibilities or things that you guys are exploring? those are kind of all the kind of topics that I had with regards to flexibility, unless anyone else has anything else. If not, we can get some time back in our day. Anyone? Any other topics you guys want to see us cover or put out there as discussion topics? I know we're trying to make sure that we're bringing topics that are pertinent and engaging for everyone. So if you have an idea for a topic, I'd love either type it in the chat. You can chat it out right now. We would love additional topics that we can keep bringing to the forefront for you guys.
I think one thing I just kind of would be curious about is like, especially for fan experiences, how are we adapting to fan experiences for, I don't know if we covered this before or not, but just what's the idea? Yeah, what ideas do we have to adapt to, fan experience? One popular fan experiences that we have is the high five tunnel. Yep. Is that going to happen again? Who knows? It depends on the NBA and the comforts of the players too. What are people putting in place? What are people doing for the current experiences they have? How are they adapting to that? Based on what's going on with COVID and what next season could look like too as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great topic that we can bring back for sure. Any others?
Well, my current mindset is that I'm not going to have any FEPs this season, none. And I'm focusing on groups that want to be together and want to watch football and be together. That's my focus.
Yeah.
We have an obligation to protect our student athletes. I'm getting vaccinated on Friday, and I'm super pumped about that. But everybody that's a higher education worker is expected to be vaccinated by the second week of April here in Illinois, because that's the expectation, and so that's what we're doing. But Carl's not on this call, but Carl will tell you, if you walk out the street with a list of your fan experiences and lead with that, you're really hamstringing yourself. If you're not following Carl Manto, you should. Groups are about themselves. They want to be together as much as they can and as safely as they can. One of our fan experiences is that we provide tailgate areas for groups when they hit a certain threshold. And because, do you want to make $50 selling a parking spot, or do you want to sell $250 worth of tickets and then a parking spot? And that's our overall philosophy, because groups want to be together, and we're here to facilitate that.
Yes. And we have other things beyond fan experiences that we can use as leverage points, whether that be merchandise, whether that be fundraising, there's lots of other things that we can pull out of our hat, if you will, that we have at our disposal.
Well, since Tim Peel got in trouble, I'll let everybody know that I'm in a referee Facebook Live group, and we watch hockey games together. And what Tim Peel said was not unusual.
All right, guys. Well, we'll close this one out. Future topics. We got some others. Block seating, spaced out seating, hybrid seating. Yep, those are all great conversations. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of your day. We will be in touch soon. And again, like I said, if you are on the app Clubhouse, so not Bob Hammer's Clubhouse, feel free to join our club, Ticket Playbook. We are going to start doing some kind of impromptu sessions on there. And then we'll slate down more of a set time. We're kind of debating what would be most applicable during the day or evening, but we'd love to have some more conversation out there as well. So, all right, take care, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We truly appreciate you, and we will talk soon.